Nigeria, the United States says it has seized a Russian-flagged vessel in the North Atlantic linked to Venezuelan oil. It also says it apprehended a second tanker in the Caribbean in the back-to-back boarding of two Ghost Fleet ships. President Donald Trump earlier mentioned that Venezuela will be turning over up to 50 million barrels of oil. That's worth about $2.8 billion to the U.S. after a military operation to remove President Nicolas Maduro from power. According to him, the oil will be sold at its market price and it would control the money raised to benefit the people of Venezuela and the U.S. Former Nigerian ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Joe Keshi, joins me on the news at 7 for more perspectives to this development. Ambassador Keshi, thanks for joining us. The U.S., as you know, carried out a multiple-phase military operation in Venezuela that resulted in the capture of President Maduro and significant casualties, including about 32 Cuban military personnel, according to reports. We're also hearing about the economic dimension and the interest of the U.S. in this operation. How do you see this action within the framework of international law and state sovereignty?
Well, my position is that we've been too legalistic. Everybody has the same question. And you get the same answers, that this is a violation of international law. This is a violation against the immunity of presidents, arresting presidents the way Maduro was arrested. This is against the United Nations Charter and the rest of it. We hear all this all the time. But my position is that the United States, played the leading role in drafting these laws in the 1940s when the current threatening international order was established. So when we go about quoting the laws, it sounds as if the United States is not aware of the laws that they personally wrote themselves. The truth of the matter, for me, as I like to argue, is that the United States, since it forced down the Russians to step down during the missile Cuban crisis, and since the collapse, of the Berlin Wall, and you now have only one superpower, and the fact that the rest of the world has virtually, in almost everything, depended on the United States when it comes to international affairs, we have more or less encouraged, we have emboldened, and we have allowed the United States to get away with whatever the United States wants to do. And unfortunately, look, when you look at the history of the United States, every president in history, or most presidents in the history of the United States, have done virtually what Trump has done, except that Trump has done it so in a very crude manner. After all, there was Panama, there was the Noriega. Look at every invasion, more than 72 that the United States has been engaged in, and nobody has been able to stop the United States. And that's because when this started, nations did not get up to challenge the authority of the United States to violate the very rules that it's helped to draft and maintained international order for the past 70 years. And so you now have a president who feels that nobody can challenge him domestically, and also feels that the same thing he's doing at home, of setting the rules and the Constitution, he can also do it externally. And very soon, of course, you find, like they've always done, the West in particular, you have a coalition of the willing, stepping up to support the United States for one reason or the other. And so when you embolden, when you encourage, a lion to roar all the time and to, rule the forest, the lion gets overboard and do whatever he, or she wants to do. And that's the situation we find ourselves today.
I hear you, Ambassador.
It's as simple as that. So,
I want us to explore the implication of this on U.S.-Latin America relations. I'm sure you know Colombia has publicly condemned U.S. military operation, saying that it's going to defend itself against any form of such aggression. and that what has happened.
No, that's the best.
Yes.
That's the best anybody. That's the best we all can do. Condemn, condemn, condemn. If they decide to go into Colombia tomorrow, they would go into Colombia. It's as simple as that. But I was listening to the president, the former president of Colombia, and a Nobel Peace, winner, who, in a very subtle manner, has advised his successor to be a little bit more diplomatic in dealing with the United States. And according to him, he said, look, the current president of Colombia has the same impulsiveness as Donald Trump, and that the guy likes to fight. But where they are today, it's not a matter of fighting or behaving like Donald Trump. It's a matter of being diplomatic and putting first the interests of, Colombia. So that's where we are. Until the world and countries, like Nigeria here today and other developing countries, until we can learn to be self-sufficient in a number of ways, until we can take ourselves seriously and develop our own capacity, competence, and capability to do things for ourselves, and not over-dependent of any nation that will wake up one morning and actually call upon us to do the things we do not want to do, and then begin to impose all kinds of sanctions against us for practically nothing. The other day, Donald Trump said that well over 30% of Nigerians in the United States live off the state. I lived in the United States for 6 years, and I can contest that statement. But guess what? Nobody is saying anything about it. Nigerians in the United States work so hard to survive. And somebody says they defend 30% of them. No, that is not true. Yeah, there might be a bit of criminals, those involved in criminal activities in the United States. They are all over the world. But Nigerians in the United States work themselves out to survive and to send money home. And go and look at the United some of the write-up of the United States. Nigerians are among the best educated immigrants in the United States, except that now Donald Trump is trying to change the narrative. And as I always say, nobody, not even the diasporans, not even the diaspora commission, not the diaspora people abroad are challenging him to say, no, this is not true. They cannot even provide statistics to support what they've been doing in the United States.
Indeed.
So you have a superpower, nobody can control, nobody can check, and it can do whatever it likes.
It's looking like there's a broader strategy to the Venezuela operation, because we're now hearing talks about taking control of Venezuela oil, even ambitions around Greenland. What does this say about U.S. foreign policy direction? And are we also perhaps seeing a complete change in global diplomatic norms as we know them?
Well, we are not talking of foreign policy right now. We're not talking of foreign policy right now. Trump is just acting on its own impulses, not simply based on United States foreign policy. If you look at the reasons for going in, you would think initially it was to, it was initially to, it was to do away, it was to restore democracy and the like of it. Then it was issue of drugs and the rest of it. And when he was asked the question when he said he was going to manage Venezuela, when he was asked that question at a press conference, he could not give an answer, but turned immediately to say, oh, we are going to take control of the oil and manage it. So it's a mixed bag. So Trump is coming up with ideas as the days go by. It has practically nothing to do with the U.S. foreign policy. It has just to do with what Trump wants to do. If you think I'm not on a good standing on this, actually say, well, the day he came on board, he said he wants to go into Canada. Canada should become the 51 states of the United States. He wants Greenland. He wants where else, So he wakes up whenever he decides, whatever he decides he wants to do, that's what he wants to do, and has nothing to do with the United States foreign policy, because the United States foreign policy, yes, there's a moral doctrine, but that moral doctrine was to ensure the protection of the United States interests, not for the United States to be invading and taking over the management of states in Southern America.
All right, good place to leave it. Former Nigerian ambassador to the U.S., Joe Keshi. Thank you, Ambassador, for talking to us.
No. I was a consul general in the United States.
Oh, consul general. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Thank you for your contribution on the news tonight.
Thank you.